hair's being a sensory pain in the butt this morning. It grows thicker on this side of my fringe. Even when I tell hairdressers, I end up with a slight slant, so I like push it up, but I can feel it's heavier. I want to do a cozy end of year, just nice, hopefully long, lengthy, enjoyable vlog to end the year on. I'm in an end of year reflective, filling my cup, getting different types of rest kind of state. And OT this year taught me about the 7 different types of rest, and I've been finding getting different types of creative rest, because obviously a lot of creative output and completing things happened this year with my cookbook. I'm intentionally doing different creative mediums has been super effective in helping me feel more grounded, more reset. So I would highly recommend looking at the different types of rest if you struggle with rest, which a lot of ADHD people do. It's currently Wednesday though. I'm going to head to therapy and then go to a bookshop to get a book by my favourite autistic author, Kay Kerr. She's written some of my favourite books, Social Cue, Please Don't Hug Me, and Love and Autism. And her book, Might Cry Later, which comes out today, is her first adult fiction about someone who is a young adult in their 20s who I think goes home for Christmas. They're autistic. It's putting up with family dynamics, having a bit of a life crisis at that time of year. But what a balm, what a gift, literally, to be able to read and escape into that kind of story over a period which I find challenging for perhaps some similar themes that are in this book. Also dying to get this book that someone recommended. Let me just find it. Came out this year. It's called Happiness Forever by Adelaide Faith. It's got this adorable scruffy dog on the cover who's called Curtin and has brain damage, but it's about a woman who's in love with her therapist, and through the help of her dog and I think a new unlikely friendship, she has to sort of figure out how to live life without the therapist. I just know I'm going to be super into it, and I'm telling you, having some like media lined up for the next little while. There are 7 weeks of family staying for me this year. Not all the same people, but like the overlapping, that's how long it is. I'm very mentally prepared, but very happy also to be getting all the media help I can get. So they had 2 out of 3 books I was wanting to get. This is Miranda Hart's new picture book, but for adults, wholesome Christmas, life-affirming story. Then there's this really beautiful Japanese supermarket that seems new to me that's opened up, and they label what's gluten-free, which is just awesome, and the prices are so good. I got some more gluten-free vegan ramen. This brand, the prices come down so much if you see it in Asian groceries. They had some fully gluten-free wheat soba, which was the cheapest I've seen it in a long time. And then, this is so cute, they have the pre-wrapped, I know this is like plastic, but it's pre-wrapped nori or onigiri, so you can keep it fresh until you eat it on the go. They also had these gluten-free dumpling wrappers, which is so cool. I've never seen anything like that in an Asian grocery for sale, like ready-made. They're made with cassava flour and glutinous rice flour. And then I went to the Glazed bakery, completely gluten-free, celiac safe place, a lot of which is vegan friendly as well, and got a couple of things for lunch, but I'll have them at home. These are the things I'm keeping, and these are all the things I'm very happy to be getting rid of. I am not feeling it today, which is fine, and I feel like it's important to show the end of year low moods as well, because that's a big reality for many of us. It was really hot today, so that's contributing, but I'm just having a day where I feel like I've done something wrong because nothing really went to plan, and because none of the stuff I'm doing in this last little week and a bit before Christmas is deadline related. I can't really remember what I've done in the day, and nothing feels important or like I'm doing anything important or of significance, but it's a really heavy time. It's really normal for me to wake up once in the night, and I've done a lot of I feel self-sleep training to get back to sleep pretty quickly, but it's been so hard to just not think of the Bondi shooting, and even though I've barely been on social media and I'm very careful to not watch live footage, videos are so part of reporting these days that it feels impossible to put that boundary in place. I don't know if other people can relate, but with the times we're living in, I feel simultaneously so traumatized by graphic, violent footage and also so desensitized, and it's so normalized, which is horrific. I wanted to talk about, though, feeling like I'm in such a turning point in life, really feeling a big shift happening, and the only thing I can compare it to, which might sound kind of innocent and naive, but I was a really good student at school, but I didn't actually become good academically until year 7, 8, 9, and then I was a totally different student academically. And I remember this moment in year 7 or year 8 in science, where I kind of realized, you actually have to try to retain information and do well. And it was this process of trying and putting my effort into homework and academia in a way I hadn't before, and that paying off, and then learning the new rules that were obviously different from primary school into a mode where academic performance is important and really rewarded. And it was learning the rules of this new sort of system and being able to work the system and impress the people who control the system. And I just feel like I'm experiencing a turning point where so much of adulthood prior to now has always really scared me and felt really like just not doable. And I never knew how other people were doing it and not feeling so stressed. And a lot of it has to do with like life admin or just, yeah, like the admin slush fest that goes with independence and having to interact with systems relating to like housing, work, study. And I think something has shifted in my brain where I've just reached a whole level of acceptance with what's required of being an adult. And it's not a particularly happy feeling. Like, it feels quite depressing in a way. It's like, this is how the world is. And if you want to like get real about it, like, you got to make some changes, Phoebe. And this relates to like feeling ready to move out and going back to study in a way that's very intentional. Unlike when I did my undergrad, this is much more intentional, job focused, life, work balance type of lifestyle you want focused. Don't have any grand conclusions, but it's all just very weird because I never thought I'd have this sort of shift. Grateful it's come though, gotta say. I'm like such a, don't know if I believe in astrology, but always going to keep an ear out, and I really resonate with what people said about 2025 being a lot of change behind the scenes, a lot of internal growth, and then in 2026 a lot of that growth will become more visible and things will feel like they'll happen a lot faster, and the change will be seemingly more grand because it will be more visible. Anyway, I hope that will be the case. But today, yeah, I'm not feeling it. Feeling sad. Like, I don't want to act on the growth that I've made this year. I think this might be triggered a little bit by my GP today saying like she's so proud of all the progress I've made, and I think she said, "You're flying." And yeah, I started seeing her when I was very depressed and in the worst place I've been in my life. So it's pretty much a straight line, night and day difference to then. But it's also like, life is still hard. It feels good to acknowledge that in amongst the wins, because I'm like the happiest I've ever been and most content and confident and like emboldened, but only because I'm made the most peace with how hard life is, but still feel capable of like holding myself through that. Like having the resources to still sprinkle in all the reasons that make life good. I don't know, I'm tired. That's enough of today's little ramble. just eat my words regarding how I described this book earlier. I think overall I still found it sweet and enjoyable, but I didn't love it. I was mainly reading it because I found the premise intriguing. Being a person falls in love with their therapist, has to learn to live without them. The main character's very depressed, and that's allowed, of course, but the therapist wasn't super believable. I don't feel like it offered enough that's new towards therapy representation that maybe I was angling for. The brain damaged dog Curtains is like the sweetest character in all of it, and something I'm realizing about myself which translates to the books that I like. I look for friendships and people who have quite a positive disposition, but in a very realistic way, like super emotional, absolutely quick to know what's wrong with things, great at venting, but their like internal compass is optimistic or hopeful, like when that person's well, because that's how I am, and I think I just feel like a positive charge in a magical way when that happens. Anyway, that's a different topic, but just to say that when I'm reading characters in books that seem to have kind of a negative charge, and the main character's allowed to be depressed, that's okay, but not for me. And I have to be in a good enough place to read it myself, even if it's like a totally benign story, because it just can make me feel a bit ill. I want to tell you about a fantastic book though that I recently read, which is Ruby Tando's Why We Eat the Way We Eat Now. That's the subtitle. It's called All Consuming. It's a series of essays on bubble tea, cult cookbooks, influencers, supermarket queues, viral recipes. It's awesome. I have been long awaiting this book, and I really wish it existed before I wrote I Want Dopamine for Dinner, or before I did my book launch, because it just helped put some language and social cultural background to the food landscape now and the recipe development landscape. But in it she talks about how recipes used to be, like there was one recipe for brownies. There were very set ideas of the foods that exist, and then there are recipes for those, and often the titles of those recipes aren't super indicative of what they actually are. Something like shepherd's pie in the West, like you might be cooking things which have a French or Italian name that it's sort of been bastardized or evolved over the years, and it very much relates to a set dish. And pre-World War II, but also post-World War II, where you had chefs bringing out like their encyclopedia of recipes, and it's like a phone book of recipes. They are giving their recipes for like recipes that sort of already exist, and people were very happy to have a cookbook, which none of the recipes were particularly mind-blowing or extremely delicious, but they all worked. And then switch to now with the food media changing so dramatically, viral recipes being a thing, recipe creators playing into these different ploys to get our attention. Recipes have changed so much. Talks about recipes having titles which describe the food very literally, because we're like reinventing familiar, nostalgic flavors that we know we like, while also constantly trying to hack them to make them more efficient, make them more easy, combine like two things that is kind of random, because when you put them on a plate, people are like, oh my gosh, never thought of that combination before, and they know they'll like it because they already like mac and cheese in a sandwich. I don't know. I feel like when I talk about this without examples, maybe it's not clear, but I'm really interested in the theory, so I feel like that's worth talking about. Anyway, this book's totally made me realize that, yeah, I do actually see the value in making recipes that have existed for a long period of time, because like the classics that you grew up with, which are totally baggable, like it's easy to bag them down because they're like underseasoned, but making your version of like japchae one week or fritters or something, like there's just certain like security in how they turn out, and like a solidness in how they perform and reheat, and also quite often they're easy to like add in other vegetables and like use things up. There's lots of things that this book will make you do. It's like making me value looking at recipes and cooking from the cookbooks that I already have, rather than turning to the internet every time you want to make something. And it's making me want to have, a bit more of a balance of like super flavorful new modern food and maybe some like lower sensory classic dishes in my weeks too, because there's a certain groundingness both to my palate and like your cooking experience that they bring. I don't know. Off the back of that, I just saw this book, How to Talk to Your Children About Food, from a British psychologist at the library. I'm obviously not the target audience for it at all, but I had a flick through it and I could tell like this is giving really good advice. And as I always sort of allude, like I think we all have things we could work on with our relationship to food, and this is just really helping me pinpoint, like I'm very aware of the ways my upbringing has led to things I struggle with now. But this sort of goes about saying what children need from like 0 to 25 through the lens of food and like everything being connected to food, and everything is connected to food. And I feel like between these two books, I just like have such greater clarity around my relationship to food and the world's relationship to food at this moment. If it isn't obvious, I just love learning about that, and like they've been great books to like tag team off one another. Speaking of media, I know there were a few requests to mention some like low sensory calming favourite movies of mine. I think it was from the accommodations video when I was talking about not watching scary movies. So I'll put them on the screen and in the description box for a bit of a media shortlist that might help you through the Christmassy period. I've been working on spreadsheets all morning. Fun. So I'm going to do a bit of crafting and replace the bunting above my desk this afternoon.